So now we want to add our pagination component. So let's create that. So in components, we'll create a new file, not a folder, a file called pagination.jsx, RAFCE. And then I'm going to grab from the theme files and the properties.html. At the bottom, there's the HTML for the pagination. So right here, this section. So I'm just going to copy that and bring that into here, and then rename all the classes to class name, and then we're going to bring that into the properties component. So let's import pagination, and then let's see, we're going to go down to the bottom here, and I'm going to go right above this last div, and that's where we want to put this. So now we should see the pagination. We have previous, page, whatever of whatever, and then next. Now in the properties JSX, where we embed pagination, there's a few things we want to pass in. So one is the page. So we'll set that to page, and that's coming from the state here, right? And then we want to pass in page size. So that will be page size, and then total items. Set that to total items. And then when we click the either of these buttons, we're going to have a function that fires off, and we want to run that in the properties JSX. So we're going to pass that in through a prop. So let's also pass in on page change, and we'll set that to a function called handle. We'll call it handle page change. All right, so let's save that, and then let's create that, because you'll see we get an error, handle page change is not defined. So in properties, we're going to go right above the return and say const handle page change. And then all we want this to do, it's going to take in a new page, and then we're just going to call set page and set it to that new page. That's all we want that to do. Okay, and we'll handle this function in the pagination component. So now let's save that. That error should clear, and then we're going to go into our pagination, and we're going to pass in the props. So we have the page. Make sure you have curly braces around it. We're destructuring these. And then page size, and then total items, and then on page change. So make sure we pass those in. And then to get the total pages, let's see, we're going to create a variable here called total pages and set that to math.ceil. So we're going to round up here, and then we want to take the total items that's passed in and divide that by the page size. Okay, now down here, let's add the disabled prop to the buttons, because if we're on the first page, then previous we shouldn't be able to click it. Just like if we're on the last page, we shouldn't be able to click next. So in the button right here, we can say disabled, and we want to set that equal to if page is equal to 1, because obviously we're on the first page, so we want that to be disabled. And then down here in this button, which is the next button, we'll say disabled, and we want to set that to if the page is equal to total pages, because then we're on the last page. Okay, so as you can see, previous I don't get the pointer, but next I do, because I'm on page 1. So the next thing we want to do is right here, we want to replace this hard-coded 1 and 10. So this will be page, and then whatever the page variable is, and then of total pages. So if we save that, we take a look, and now it says page 1 of 3. if I were to change in the properties here, if I were to change this, where are we? This 1 right here to 2 and save, okay, the properties change, and it also now says page 2 of 3. But I'm going to put that back to 1. Now we just want to make it so that when we click next or previous, it changes the pages. So in pagination, let's go back to the previous button, and let's add an on click here. So I'm going to go under where the disabled and say on click, and then we want to set that to a function that will then call handle page change, and then this is previous, so we're going to pass in page -1. All right, and then for the on click for the next, let's just copy that on click, and then for the next we want to say handle page change, but it's going to be page +1. And then all we really need to do now is create this handle page change inside the pagination component. So I'm going to put that, let's see, we're just going to go right here and say const handle page change, and let's pass in here new page, and we just want to check to see if the new page is greater than or equal to 1, right? And also less than or equal to the total pages, because we don't want to be able to go to a page that doesn't exist. So let's say if the new page is greater than or equal to 1 and the new page is less than or equal to the total pages. Okay, if that's true, then we want to call on page change and pass in that new page. Now that on page change is being passed in as a prop, which is then going to be called here, and then call handle page change in properties, which will set the page. So let's go ahead and let's make sure I save that, and then we'll reload. Okay, so we're on 1 of 3. I'm going to click next. Okay, so that changes to 2 of 3, 3 of 3, and then I can't go next any further. However, it's not actually changing the properties. So the reason for that is because in our properties JSX, for the use effect, we need to pass in as a dependency, we're going to pass in page, I could have swore I did this, but page and page size, because once the page changes, this will fire off again, which makes a request to the back end and gets the correct pages. So let's reload. Let's click next. And there we go, 2 of 3, and we get the next 2. Page 3 of 3, we only have 1 here because remember we have totals, so we have 7 in total. So the third page is only going to have 1. So previous, so now we have working pagination. And I think I'm going to change the default to 6, so that way we'll see the first 6, and we'll still see the pagination because I have 7 total. You guys could have more or less. So I'm going to change the page size, the default in both the component here to 6, and then also in the route, which is, where are we? Properties route JS. Right here, I have that set to 3. I'm going to set that to 6 as well. So if that's not there, page size will be 6. All right, so we should still see the pagination if you do have 7 listings like I do, and we can go on to the next page. All right, so pagination is done. In the next video, I want to work on the photo slide light box. So I want to be able to click on these images and have it open in a big light box.